a true ruler, if you want to call it, his interest is in those that he rules. So his position cannot be one that is selfish. It has to be one that takes into consideration the benefit to those he rules. And if that were the case, AIG would have never been in trouble. You know, all of these other different entities, if they were ruling in that regards in terms of their concern for their shareholders, their concern for their constituents, regardless of whatever they were, that would have been the focus. And if that would have been the focus, then those decisions would never have been made, because they know that making those decisions doesn't put, well, they didn't know that it was putting AIG at risk, but they knew it was putting the individual stockholders, shareholders at risk, figuring that the company would be able to sustain, you know, whatever types of losses. You know, you can't look at that in your marriage. Okay, I'm going to look at whatever type of losses I can sustain before she totally leaves me, you know. That doesn't work. You know, maybe in some places it works, but in the Brabson household, you know, it doesn't work. So I can't count the cost of how many non-returns or negative returns on investment can occur before my wife leaves or before my kids disown me. You know, that can't occur. And so in terms of in a marriage, you have to be willing to make those decisions that are the best for the entire family. If you have kids, I mean, I've got kids, and sometimes you have to make a decision that you will not allow the one child to be the catalyst for chaos in the family. And you will deal with the one child for the benefit of the entire family. And at times, that's just rule. It's not that anything against that one child. You know, my way my father explained it to me, because I happen to be that child, is I won't let one bad apple spoil the bunch. I won't do it. And he was matter of fact in some different things that he would and do had I not changed different things that I was doing at the time. And I think that's just rule. It is not a rule that is based upon, oh, okay, we can take so many different losses, we can do so many different things, and then we'll still be able to make it. Yeah. If that's what your marriage is based on, then you're probably in that more than 50%, because you start counting the cost and you didn't count the cost right, and she left, and you're like, oh man, I didn't expect that to happen, you know, or he left, or however it goes. And so I think that, you know, in relationships, that whole ability to have the integrity to be faithful is a very challenging thing, because it's not about what it is that you do in the light, it's about what it is that you do in the dark. It's not about the thoughts that you have when you're with your kids and your wife, it's the thoughts that you have when you're not. It's not about the actions that you take while you're out at the family gathering, it's the ones that you take when you're alone on a business trip. And those are the ones, I think, that make the difference in terms of your partnership being able to work. And I think if companies did the exact same things, our 401ks would be doing a lot better.
John, you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, but I forgot about it.
You know, really good point. I think that you're absolutely correct. You know, we can expect that these various systems in which we have become acquainted with, and also we put trust into, you know, that's constantly, we're seeing the result of failure from one system after another. From the standpoint, I think that we thought we were one of the most secure countries in the entire world, only to see our world fall apart on September 11th, you know, and it changed the whole spectrum of how we do things. Yes, so we saw our security at risk, and we saw our security vulnerable, you know, and so it showed that our system of security was not perfected, you know, it was not perfect. And then here we are with this hurricane and Katrina, and we saw the response, of course, of FEMA, the state government, the local government, the federal government, and we saw the finger pointing and blaming with the whole Katrina situation. But yet, it showed us something. It showed us, once again, a system that people really put their faith and hope in, which is the government. So whether that's local, state, or federal, and only to come to find out that that system failed them once again. And then, you know, we have these 401ks, we have stocks, we have security, and the next thing you know, we're seeing our whole finance structures collapsing. You know, I think I'm just looking and the Europe, you know, dollar is crumbling as we talk right now.
Yes.
But you know, people who have put their whole heart in retirement are now having to go back to work because what they thought they had, they don't have anymore. That system of trust, their 401, their retirement that they put their trust in, that whole thing sort of collapsed, you know, to the point where people get so discouraged that some people even take their lives as a result of this thing. And that's very demonic when you allow the enemy not to give you a way out, you know, when you don't see any other way out. So we see that whole collapse of the economic system. And now we're talking healthcare, you know, with the H1N1, known as swine flu before, with the various viruses that's coming into our land. Of course, that's raising an alert to more people. Do I have insurance? Why do I need insurance? The whole healthcare arena. These people aren't insured, and we know how much insurance costs if you were to have any type of medical problems and have to go to the doctor. You'll spend the rest of your life trying to pay for it, you know, because one surgery can indebt you for the rest of your life.
Oh, yes.
And so, therefore, we have people who are crying out that this whole healthcare system we have, that they put their trust into, they're seeing the flaws of it. So one system after another, God is beginning to show us the collapsing of these world systems because he's proclaiming a system or a kingdom which cannot be shaken. And I think that's the message of faithfulness that God is telling us as his people today, that I'm faithful. You know, if you will put your trust not in these systems that I just named, but if you would put your trust in me, I'll get you through these storms. You're about to say something?
That's the thing. I mean, we can participate in the faithfulness of God. You know, when we can come to understand that we are sons of God and that our Father wants the very best for us. Our Father God wants the very best for us. He is faithful. You know, if you go to the flip side of this thing, I mean, how many times have we seen God faithful when we've been in a place where we could do nothing? You know, I mean, almost everybody has a testimony, even the people that haven't come to faith in Jesus Christ. They've seen where God has been faithful. A number of us have been out of work with little or no income, and God has been faithful. You know I went through that thing where I did not work for 10 months. And I have no idea how our bills got paid. But yet God was faithful. I mean, it's hard to take that away from me because I've seen that.
Right.
You know, and again, I had nothing else to trust except God.
Okay.
And I had difficulty trusting God, but he was always faithful.
Wow.
Even
That's
though
good.
I had difficulty. But he was faithful. And when I came through the thing, I thought, wow, look at how faithful God is.
Yes. Yeah. He watches over his word to perform it, doesn't he?
He's amazing. I mean, once you, at least for me, once you know that you know that you know that you know that you know, no one can take it from you. It's not it's almost like education. You know, the one thing that my parents sort of instilled in us is that people can take, you know, in regards to segregation, discrimination, racism, they can do all that. But if you're educated, they can never take the education away from you. And I look at it that way with God. My experiences with God and the things he's delivered me from personally and the things that he has delivered me to in regards to provision and protection for my family, no one can take them away. I mean, he has been my provider, our protection. I mean, when everything else said it's over, you're going to lose, you're done, there's God right there standing in the gap. I am faithful. I told you I'd never leave you. I'm still here.
Right.
And once you have that, no one can take it from you. So, I mean, the economy can go to the pits, the 401k can dry up, Social Security can be non-existent, all the jobs can go to 80% unemployment, and you know that you know.
But he's always that third person in the fire.
And he's the person that when you're dependent upon him, there is no fear.
Right.
You know, and it gets a little bit scary for some folks because they're like, you should be fearful. You should be, oh, what is going to happen? And